Why do you keep speculating in a space like this? With them scams and ruggers and things. Damn me, you be getting liquidated by pretending efficiency and them useless tokens like this. Why don't you quit so that and they give you your bags and shout that there's some money? Shout till it's just a lie. It's just a real call. Looking to say how deep in your eyes. Embrace the light. Come, let's hang around under the light. Have it to you. Embrace the light. Finish some more. So look at the light.
Embrace the light, motherfucker. Welcome to the Lite Hour live stream. The Lite Hour live stream is a Litecoin dedicated live stream that we host on the Flipping Finance page every Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. So I'm your host, Raphael. And if you're looking for somewhere that you can continue to engage with the Litecoin conversation, then the Lite Hour live stream is definitely where you need to be. So remember, 5 p.m. EST, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. So today, guys, there's a lot to actually talk about, right? So I want to reflect on something, because I'm not gonna even pretend, right? I've not been feeling too good emotionally recently, but it's mostly about a concept that I've been exploring, and essentially accumulation of some observations I've been making with particular regards to social structures that I've been paying attention to that are forming in this our crypto ecosystem. And it's essentially been playing in my mind recently, but I recently stumbled upon Pierre Bourdieu's work once again after quite a while, because I was familiar with his work before, but never really read his book. You know, it's just you hear it in sociology classes and you sort of like get a hint of what he's talking about. But the more I read this book, and particularly the book on forms of capital, and I sort of draw parallels from the book and try to make sense of it in the context of what we're seeing in our little crypto community, right? What we're seeing from the behaviors of maximalists and this sort of social hierarchies that they are trying to create, you know. And not gonna lie, it's been a little depressing. Yeah, it's been a little depressing to to actually like unpack all of that. But yeah, today we're gonna spend some time talking about it. Okay, now I see UV Star Baby in the building. Yeah, it's always a thing of joy to see you here, my friend. How are you? How are you today? Happy. What's today? Today's. Oh my God, I don't know what today is. Today's Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. Oh my God, I was about to say today was Thursday. By the way, welcome. I see you there in the chat. Shout out to you for Okay, apologies for that. I got kicked out for a second. Ha! Look at that. Oh my God, I see MK in here. Shout out to MK, bro. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the stream, MK. Welcome. Shout out to every other person that is that is watching but is not joining us in the stream, in the chat. Appreciate all of you. So two things we're gonna dive into today. The first, I've already introduced my new article that I've been the first part of my first articles that I've been putting together, which is basically a culmination of what I just briefly introduced. And before that, we're actually going to be going into the price, right? We're going to be opening the chart because LTC, bro. Yo, LTC is not cooking. It's cooking us, bro. I don't get it. We're getting cooked, bro. Yeah, this you, bro. Yeah, this is you. It's so nice to see you, bro. MK. I thought like you, I thought you got shipped off to like, I don't know, Russia or freaking, I don't know. You're probably like sent to one of these wars that's going on to go join. You probably enlisted for the army or something. Because I've not seen you anywhere on the interwebs, bro. MK. Shout out to you for showing up. Oh, we have Master in the building. Master, shout out to you, bro. So nice to see you guys here. You guys are absolutely wonderful. So yeah, before we jump into the charts very quickly, I want to say again, this merch that I'm wearing, I got it from 84 million. So of course, if you like Litecoin merch and you'd like to get a cool Litecoin merch for yourself, you should definitely go shop at 84 million. They have a very nice merchandise that you're probably gonna like. And so you can see that is 84million.com/shop, and you can see that 84 million. So just in case you want to get some Litecoin merch, and by the way, it's not sponsored. Kyle at 84 million, very good friend of mine, very wonderful person. And so yeah, I always shout them out because they really have good stuff on the 84 million, in the 84 million store. Anyway, so going into the first thing I want to talk about today is this, and I'm going to show it here. The thing that terrifies us the most, which is the fact that we seem to be breaking this channel of accumulative interest. Now, ordinarily, this is not something that should bother us because we have seen time and again the price has come all the way, dip below this and then from the week and just like catapulted and just went bananas inside of this channel. Reversed completely. We've seen that happen multiple times. We saw it happen here where we dipped below this and immediately got back inside. We had this week below this. So, this is a low one, but I don't think that really counts. This is another one. This is more pronounced and sort of like similar to what we're experiencing here. And of course, we had the 10th of October, 2025 scam week, essentially, that decimated the charts. And so all of that is what we've been essentially experiencing. So the temptation is just saying that, oh my God, yes, this is another week, right? This is another week. It's all going to be a scam week. It's going to just rectify itself and we're just going to blast through. And that's the easy thing to say, right? That's what I really want to happen. But I remember when I was on the side that we're probably going to just weak below a little bit and then reverse. And I'm just going to pull up LTC over in a bit. So I'm trying not to make that same mistake, right? because at the end of the day, this price, what's happening in the markets, there's a lot of things going on. I mean, Bitcoin is definitely just underperforming on a scale that we've never seen before, because everything else is in all-time highs besides crypto. And it sucks. Metals are exploding. I mean, gold and silver continue to make new all-time highs. These are not the macro conditions that favor crypto. And then we're also seeing what's happening with the interest rates over in Japan, which I believe is the continuous unwinding of the yen carry trade. I don't know if that is the only thing there. I haven't really looked into that situation a lot recently, but that might actually have something to do with what's going on with Japan. And everyone knows how integral Japan has been over the past decade to the equities market around the world. All of that free interest money getting repaid and everything flowing back to Japan, to secure this new attractive bonds in the Japanese markets. So that's something that has been going on as well. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't look very positive for the price. And so it's just I'm trying my best to set my expectations right, because again, I don't think it's a taboo to talk about the price as much as I'm more concerned about Litecoin as the coin itself. I talk about the price quite frequently because I do believe it's a very important thing to talk about, right? But however, I think it's very important that in talking about the price, we should try as much as possible to manage our expectations, because when you manage your expectation, then you have less animosity towards the asset itself, and you don't get blinded by the price action that you forget to see the fact that everything is still fundamentally okay. But that's just my opinion. Okay, we're getting some comments from Master here. LTC is Lee. Yeah, sure, bro. Last tip before we rip. Litecoin following Zcash 6 months behind. Oh, that's interesting. Do you have something? I know Master plots a lot of interesting chart. Bro, do you got something for us to see? You could probably just comment it under the stream so I can pull it up and we can look at it. Yeah, but personally, yes, I want to think that. Honestly, I want to think this is the last dip before we rip, and it definitely, it definitely looks like it should be the last dip before we rip. Because look at what's been happening with LTC Silver. We've been getting absolutely destroyed. This is insane. These are levels I never thought LTC Silver would get. I mean, I did hint at it, right? Because I've been tracking. By the way, I've been tracking LTC Silver all the way since October, right? When we had this little wick, and I'm just going to zoom that in right now. So we had this little wick below this formation, this descending triangle formation against LTC Silver, and we essentially broke back into the channel. I thought that was the fake out, and that was it. We're going to start reversing, especially since XRP Silver had its own reversal, somewhat similar. And yeah, but unfortunately, no, that didn't happen. Unfortunately, the wealthy sociopaths that control these markets decided to, obliterate LTC and the ratios, and so we had that massive drop all the way from about 2 silver per LTC all the way to 0.71 silver per LTC. Very terrible, actually. And so essentially, looking at that and sort of drawing parallels to what we have today, it's kind of difficult to see how LTC USD does not follow and just do the same thing. I mean, it's definitely going to be the path that maximizes pain. And considering the path LTC has decided to take over the past 8 years, it's not difficult to see why it's going to take that path again, because it just does it, right? I don't know why I'm laughing. I'm sorry. I sound a bit insensitive, but that's what it is. But okay, we're getting a comment from us here. It's bullish because silver is going parabolic in a bull market, so it's just pulling down the price against Litecoin, and Litecoin is ready to catch up. One should be at $500 next month. Bullish. That is extremely optimistic. Who's to say no, right? Who's to say no about that? I'm not that optimistic at the moment. Just because I don't want to, tell people, oh yeah, we're gonna reverse. I don't want to be the guy that's always screaming, the chart's gonna reverse immediately and everyone goes to buy, and in case it doesn't happen at the moment I say it, then people get to lose money in that moment. And I get, yeah, I don't, that's why I'm not being too optimistic. But yes, I totally agree that LTC silver has been pulling us down. Silver has been pulling us down heavily. I think silver has been draining everything. It's been draining LTC silver. It's been draining Litecoin. It's been draining. It's been draining XRP. If I pull up XRP silver, I'm just gonna pull up XRP silver as well, so y'all are gonna see it. So just give me a second. XRP silver actually looks pathetic. It's almost like it. I don't even know what to make of it recently, but it just looks very pathetic, very very pathetic. And hold on, I'm just pulling it up right now. So it's not just LTC. Also, Bitcoin silver has actually looked pathetic, but Bitcoin, I haven't been paying attention to that a lot. I've been paying attention mostly to Litecoin and only very recently to XRP. But yeah, look at that. Look at how terrible that that is. Look at that XRP against silver. So it just had this breakout, which coincided with the run it experienced Q4 2024, Q1 2025. And it's essentially bled everything away. It's just vomited all that move. Absolutely nasty. So yeah, it's a very, very solid possibility. Okay, I didn't show it. Okay, look at it here. So this is it essentially. That means like yuan's not gonna fall against the dollar. Oh, that's interesting. That means Litecoin. Okay, I don't think I got your last comment, Master. I think I just gotta. I didn't really get the last comment. Sorry. LTC is not gonna fall against silver. It's not gonna fall against USD. That's it. I'm gonna continue to monitor the situation anyways. I guess it's it's usually these times that LTC throws us a curveball. But let's see. Whatever it is, I'm just gonna say, it makes sense that considering the way things are, that people manage your expectations. At the end of the day, the markets can stay irrational longer than you can remain solvent, and that's just the truth. That's just the truth about it. But once again, LTC just remains in a position where, as usual, it's ready to do everything. It's ready to do anything. It can rip right now, and everything's still going to look perfect. It can decide to bleed a loop for 3-4 months, and then completely reverse, and everything's going to look perfect. But yeah, just manage your expectations. That's all I could say, right? We could just try to do that whilst being optimistic. So yeah, that's pretty much the amount of time I wanted to spend talking about the charts. Yeah, that's basically everything. We broke this, and yeah, this is looks like we're probably gonna have our first month. Okay, this is if we close this weekly against silver, it's probably going to be our first weekly close, in this on this support. First weekly close below the support since December 2018, which yeah, I don't know. I don't know how good that feels. And then you just look at how many more closes we're probably going to get after that. Yeah. I'm gonna finish talking about this LTC chart in about 5 minutes. I don't want to dwell on the charts too much today, because there's more stuff I want to talk about. Really, more stuff. Oh boy! So this is a I'm trying to pull up LTC silver again so we could see, because LTC silver as well it didn't have any breakdown for a very long time, right? It was, of course, I could say maybe an argument for why LTC USD might not follow LTC silver is because, like, LTC silver, this structure entirely was a bearish structure, right? I mean, very clearly, this was a descending triangle, very clear descending triangle. I don't know how everybody missed it, very clear descending triangle. So of course, this is it's just the pattern getting respected. That's just all this is. But holy shit, that's a lot. That is a parabolic dump, bro. That is wow, that is atrocious. But yeah, that's maybe that's the argument for why LTC silver would not follow LTC USD. LTC USD would not follow you as LTC silver, because if you see LTC USD, it's just been it's been bullish, right? I don't need to dwell on that a lot. It's been very bullish, unless you want to interpret this as more like you know, a distribution where this is actually like signals weak breakout, multiple weak breakouts, and all that. But yeah, I'm not really of that opinion at all, especially when you consider all the bullish drivers that have actually been going on, and you know, all the fundamentally bullish stuff that has been happening in the crypto market. I just think there's more pain ahead, and I believe that's where we're gonna end that. LTC silver look bottomed. It just means silver went parabolic blow off. Okay. Okay, let's see. There's a possibility that that might be the case. That might be the case, that this is a parabolic blow off from silver, and then it all just corrects, probably crashes back in. That's what I actually expect is for LTC to crash back into this at some point, right? It just crashes back into this and explode. That's most likely what happens. But what I cannot say is, like, if we consolidate for longer, because again, it might just decide to consolidate for like 5 months, form a base, get people out, frustrate people, before it actually ultimately catapults itself back above this. You just never know. So whichever one we get, we just have to continue to pay attention to it. I always track the LTC silver ratio. Litecoin is in an ascending triangle. Yes. Yeah, that's true actually. But I don't like looking at Litecoin as an ascending triangle. I don't know, because I don't see a lot of touches there. But like, yes, ascending triangle is actually much there's actually a big argument for it. I see most people draw the ascending triangle like this, but I like to just focus on whatever formation has the most touches. Like, for example, this LTC, I mean, if we're drawing the ascending triangle like this, then it definitely extends much longer. This just doesn't look too pretty for me. Or unless you're not using the candlestick, or you're probably using like a much higher time frame. Let me check the 3 months. I think it's a much cleaner on the 3 months. Oh boy, that's such a zoom out. All right. But even like this, right? I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I see it, right? Most people draw this. Most people draw this as DR, and even the, oh boy, this looks brutal, bro. This looks absolutely brutal. Look at that. We're absolutely going down. We're going down against that. That's absolutely terrible. But yeah, this is how people draw the ascendant triangle for okay, 417 and 21. Yes, that's it. Those are two touches, and yeah, a lot of people actually showed. I mean, I personally prefer the path that has more, you know, touches, and that's why I just follow the channel of accumulative interest, and that's the way it that's just the formation that you know, made more sense to me, because it's been more, there's a lot of, you know, touches, and you know, it just appears to me as something that has taken more time to establish itself, and it's held up quite well. But yes, an ascendant triangle is actually very legit either way. Some people also draw it as some people like to draw like a asymmetric triangle, like a symmetrical triangle like this. So some people draw theirs like this, I guess, but it's just doesn't look very neat to me to draw it like this. So but yeah, however way it is, LTC USD has been bullish. There's no doubt about it. But yeah, I just wanted to just touch on the chart for a little bit, yeah, and just I guess we have to expect more pain, and in these times, well, all we can do is focus more on the 3 months is symmetrical. Yes, the 3 months is most likely symmetrical. Okay, I think my camera got disconnected. Why did my camera get disconnected? Oh, boy.
My phone died. Shit. That's what it was. My, yep, my phone freaking died. Guy, what the fuck? That is like the most randomest ish. No, wait, look, it can drop just like no, bro, like
Okay. Yeah, my camera just went off. Oh my god. Anyways, yeah. I guess yeah, that's pretty much what I want to talk about, the charts. So on to the next thing that I want to talk about today is this. My first article that I've written, and this article actually means a lot to me because I've actually been taking a lot of time recently to ask myself the question, because the other day I was thinking to myself that yeah, beyond the price, beyond the fundamentals attached to the technical properties of sound money itself, what does Litecoin mean to me? What does it mean? What is the culture behind Litecoin? And ever since then, I've been paying more attention to these things, just because, like, I believe that inside these things lie like a much deeper meaning to this whole movement. Because I see Bitcoin, I see Litecoin, these things for what they are. I mean, these are monies, right? These are monetary networks that are gaining adoption, and then there's communities and cultures forming around them. And from this thought that I started having, I begun to think about the way things are from the perception of how maximalists have been behaving, right? Because again, one of the most important things, in my opinion, about Bitcoin and Litecoin and this, completely independent, neutral forms of censorship-resistant monies is the societal structures that are forming within them. And so essentially, I've been paying a lot of attention to that. And so a trigger happened when I started paying attention to the fact that some people that consider themselves Litecoiners, or they consider themselves Litecoin friendly Bitcoiners, treat Litecoin as if they are treating a guilty pleasure. And not just Litecoin, actually, altcoins in general. They act like, these altcoins are guilty pleasure. And I asked myself that where has this sort of behavior manifested before in society? And so it just brought my mind back to sociology and the whole idea of classism, and the way societies, or elites, in quote, and when I use the word elites, I sort of like put an air quote to that, the way these elite members of society sort of like begin to form a sort of like class difference, where they tend to try to separate themselves from society and act as though they are above society and the rest are subservient to them. And then they find reasons to reinforce those beliefs, right? They find reasons to tell themselves that that is really how it's supposed to be. It's meant to be. And across societies, it usually manifests, especially across liberal societies, as elites trying to convince themselves that maybe there's some sort of meritocracy that actually validates their actual status. And there are also other ones, but for Bitcoin maximalists, it's actually been more of an appeal to a form of purist ideology that has no merit in any technical argument, but is actually more rooted in this belief system that they have been trying so hard to create and to enforce and to perpetuate. But it's been working, actually. It's been working. And so when I pay attention to the fact that some people are starting to, have been treating, altcoins in general as a guilty pleasure, and now we have more people. In fact, people that just a few months ago I knew were very vocal supporters of altcoins, and very vocal antagonists of Bitcoin maximalists. These people have completely switched. It's more like the meme is starting to become more viral. These people are starting to buy into this maximalist idea, and this form of classification in crypto society is starting to become real, starting to take form. And personally, all right, I do have a significant disdain for elitist behavior. And I just want to clarify that elitist, not necessarily, in my opinion, is not necessarily being wealthy or being rich. It's just trying to enforce a certain societal hierarchy where you perceive yourself as being more superior to a particular, outgroup. For example, believing you are elevated above these people for whatever reason it is. And that is behavior that I'd consider elitist. And essentially that is the foundation that has formed this my thought that I've been exploring and that I wrote this article about, which is essentially Bitcoin maximalism, an attempt at crypto classism. So yeah, I'm gonna discuss this, and if you're in the chat and you want to add anything to it, or you want to take anything to it, or you have any challenge you want to post to my ideas, or you have anything you just want to say to it, feel free to go ahead and do so. Of course, this thesis, this idea that I'm about to just rant about, basically, is still a work. It's a process. It's still in the process of formation, right? So this is just me pouring out what is essentially the preliminary framework for it, as opposed to the final output. Essentially, more like a state of my mind check with regards to this particular conversation. And so I'm going to try to talk about it. I'm going to try to just have a conversation on it, and just share my views, and find my way to form a bit of a, see if I can figure something out, right? See if I can figure something more to actually better my understanding of it, or better my perception of it, or basically anything like that. So there's two versions of this article. I actually pinned one, which is a version that is actually more focused on Litecoin being the counterculture to Bitcoin maximalism itself, and the other one, which is essentially just a plain focus on Bitcoin maximalism itself, which is this one that I'm actually about to share and talk about. So yeah, this is the one we're actually going to talk about. Y'all give me a minute. Oh. I don't know how or why my camera went off. Because oh boy. Yep. Trying to get this sorted out so that I can show my face in this. Oopsies. Okay, while I'm waiting for my device to boot up, essentially what I'm just gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and read the article itself, I guess, and just talk. So if you're still actually, I know this is the segment of the stream where everyone lives, but I really feel it's important that I talk about this and explore it. So if you're still here, I guess you just have to sit down and listen to me rant about this a little. So yeah, Bitcoin maximalism, an attempt at crypto classism. Bitcoin maximalists have done so well in creating social and cultural capitals around Bitcoin that have transcended its need to justify any utility metric out there. Everyone is well aware of the economic capital that Bitcoiners have been able to acquire. The wealth, the heavy price tag of BTC, the flashy conferences, etc., but very few are aware of these other forms of capitals that they have created. They have coined two terms, Bitcoiners and shitcoiners. And these aren't just labels, but symbols of social statuses within the crypto ecosystem. Whichever one of them one belongs to determines how they are perceived, who they can connect with, what opportunities they get, what audiences they get. And if you're a maximalist, for example, you're perceived as elite class, in the know, cultured principles, and highly educated. And if you're a shitcoiner, you're seen as less cultured, uncaught, scammy, and lower class. So where I observed this particular phenomenon was essentially the streets of Twitter, right? Looking at the way Bitcoin maximalists behave in the streets of Twitter, there is a certain feeling of dismissiveness that comes from them when they're talking about any asset at all. And at first, when I listened to Bitcoin maximalists, right, the first thing I thought was maybe these are people who cared about like some sort of they cared about some technical argument. For example, like, oh yeah, Bitcoin should be like this because it's decentralized, because it's fairly distributed, and all of that. And that's what I believed formed their smart behavior was just maybe these guys felt like every other thing is worthless because of this technical arguments, and so they're just acting smart and they don't want to listen to it. But then you pay attention to the other cryptocurrencies that are, fairly distributed, as decentralized, and have all of the, things that Bitcoin have. For example, Litecoin, Monero, and essentially, I noticed that they still, addressed these other assets with the same level of dismissiveness that they use for assets that are fundamentally different from Bitcoin, such as Solana, such as XRP, and the rest. So I asked myself, what actually is driving this attitude? What's driving this behavior? What's making these people behave the way they behave? And then the first logical answer came to my mind, which is probably maybe they're just greedy, right? They're just greedy. They are trying their best to drag all the attention to themselves, which is in fact true. It is true that they are very greedy, and that is why they do what they do and act the way they do. But beyond the greed is also, greed itself, right, is a hallmark of elitist behavior, right? That's the whole point. That's why elites, members of society, that's why they gatekeep stuff. They gatekeep resources, and historically they kept everything. Access to resources, access to information, access to everything else. So essentially, that greed, my thinking about it is, okay, this is greed, sort of like morphed into me understanding this from a very different perception, right? Which is that these people are essentially trying to create labels and just feed everyone into those labels. And when they do that, when they establish that, they can essentially convince everybody in the future that everything else is not worth looking at. And gradually, this lie that they say will permeate society to the point where it becomes reality, because a lie that has been said far too often becomes the truth. It is essentially a playbook that has been repeated across time, across society, and they're doing it again. And so it became clear to me it's not just about them ignoring everything that they're not intellectually interested in. It's not just about them wanting to do away with coins that they do not technically align with, because that wouldn't make any sense. If that was their basis, then they would obviously be like sound money maximalists or something like that. They would probably like, Bitcoin and Monero and Litecoin. And maybe they don't like Litecoin because Litecoin copied Bitcoin essentially. Maybe Bitcoin and Monero, but no, it's just Bitcoin and nothing else. And so it became very became very clear, became very apparent what they were doing. And you notice it in the way they behave. And we're gonna go into the next part, right? The way they behave and the way they try to enforce this structure that they're trying to create, the way they're trying to force this classification, trying to box every single person that is not a Bitcoiner into this subjugated class and create that false impression that can carry them essentially, to a position where they are literally the only asset, right? Bitcoin is literally the only asset that can actually take in any form of serious capital, because of course that's the goal. So let's look at that, right? If you're a Bitcoin maximalist, you're perceived as elite class, in the know, cultured, principled, highly educated. If you're a shitcoiner, well, you're seen as less cultured, uncaught, scammy, and lower class, because literally that's what they call every shitcoin. If you're anything but a Bitcoiner, they're gonna say you're a scammer. You're promoting the scam coin. I've seen Bitcoin maximalists call Monero a scam coin, call Litecoin a scam coin. Things that are just fundamentally absurd. But of course, it doesn't matter. It's still, it's something that you can actually relate to, the ideas around opals bring bad luck. Opals do not, in fact, bring bad luck. But it doesn't matter. If it's said, if it's repeated long enough, it becomes true. Now, you can connect with the Sailors, the Adam Backs, the Brian Armstrongs, the Navals of the industry as a Bitcoin maxi, but as a shit coiner, oh my God, I made an error. As a shit coiner, your connection prospects are free. Now, of course, Brian Armstrong should not be in this list. Maybe Sailors and Adam Backs, and these guys do everything they can to not associate with anybody that they can consider a shit coiner, anybody that they can consider having a view that is opposed to a Bitcoin only view. And you can notice in their behavior, right? The conferences they attend are usually conferences that have only Bitcoiners inside. You will never see them in a conference. Everybody on this list besides Brian Armstrong and Naval, of course, Naval barely makes public appearances. I just had to put Brian Armstrong and Naval for illustrative purposes, of course. But yeah, they would absolutely try it as much as possible to distance themselves from it, from the conversations, from the events, from the venues, anything like that. Even the Bitcoin maximalists that were present in the Litecoin Summit last year, kind of like were feeling like they were doing something, something a little wrong, like when you go to the pot of soup and then you get a meat from it when you're small, and feel so wrong because it's just taking something that doesn't belong to you or something like that. You're doing something you're not supposed to do. That's how it felt, because that's the culture that has been created, and this is the behavior that has been exhibited. And of course, when I say your connections or your connection prospects are fringe, by fringe I mean fringe from the perception of these Bitcoin maxes, right? So the people that they will not want to connect with themselves, the people that they will consider shitcoiners, the people that they will consider outcasts to their in-group, are the only people you can possibly connect with, because in doing so, they can essentially elevate themselves from the rest of the crypto society. They can position themselves as prestigious and create this perception that anyone that is not in their in-group is a shitcoiner and it's just is a fringe prospect, a fringe person that only people from quote unquote lower society can associate with. And this is not new actually. Now, again, a lot of the ideas in this article are from the works of French sociologist Pierre Bourdieu. um so essentially it's just me trying to draw parallels from his book Forms of Capital and trying to see what these social structures that are being formed, these other forms of capital that are being created within this ecosystem is. And from the book, Bordeaux actually highlighted four forms of capitals, and those four forms of capitals are capitals that the elite class use in elevating themselves from broader society, and what Bitcoin maximalists are trying to use to elevate themselves from broader crypto society. And so I've mentioned the other three, the economic capital, which is of course the fact that they have all the money. Then get the social capital, they get the cultural capital, and of course the last one is the symbolic capital. So these previously hard to define yet easy to perceive distinctions have been prevalent across societies and throughout history. The upper class subtly distinguish themselves through taste and what they choose to associate with. They, for example, consume classical music, drink old world wines, eat French cuisine, attend operas, and play golf. On the other hand, the middle and lower class, in quote, consume pop music, drink new world wines, eat soul food and junk foods, attend stadium concertos, and play athletic sports. And essentially, yes, this is something. This is actually more in line with old world elitism, right? This is not really what the case has actually been with new world elitism. So like the new world elite, because by the way, the word elites will probably sound very cringe because it's one of those taboo words in societies where we don't see them anymore, of course. But these things exist, right? There's this high societies, they still exist. It's just a thing. Old money, that's the whole point of it. A lot of people like to use that word more, old money, nowadays. Yeah, but essentially this old money nowadays, they actually, beyond trying to distinguish themselves, they don't try to distinguish themselves, in using this black and white distinctions anymore. They actually participate more in cultural omnivorism, where they can indulge in other things. For example, like wealthy person who's old money and high class, high status, whatever, can decide to go to McDonald's and pick a meal. But like when they do it, of course they don't do it because like like the everyday Joe like you and I, we're going there to just get a meal for ourselves. They do it because it's a guilty pleasure, right? It's a nice thing that they're doing. I mean, they're trying to connect, they're trying to be authentic or whatever it is, just and they do it in this form of irony. And that's essentially the sort of like the new makeup of the way they separate themselves. So it's more like, okay, yeah, they can do these things as ironies, but of course they still have, they're still in the know. They still understand how to participate in the other highbrow activities that, of course, most of us cannot participate in. But the old world elitism actually work like this, where they'll completely separate themselves using these black and white structures, where everything they do is completely separated from lower society. And there's this sort of like snobbishness amongst them, this feeling of snobbishness where they felt like they were better than others, and so they do not associate with quote unquote lower society. And this particular old world elitism is what Bitcoin maximalists are trying to recreate in this space, in this ecosystem. And that's what they're doing by creating these distinctions where they call anything that is not a Bitcoiner a shitcoiner. Because when they do that, they're essentially saying, okay, if you're walking into a room with Michael Saylor and you tell them, oh, you're a Bitcoin Maxi. Well, you sound like you belong. You sound like you know your shit, right? You sound like you are, on the level of Michael Saylor. You sound like you're someone Michael Saylor will want to talk to or want to associate himself with. But then if you consider yourself an altcoiner, let's say, or you're a Litecoiner, or you're a Solana supporter, or whatever you think you're supporting, what you essentially are is just, well, anything but. And that is the way they're trying to structure it all. And so they enforce the code, right? Because then if you say that you're anything but a Bitcoiner, you don't get to associate with them. You don't get to chat with them. You don't get to connect with them. You don't get to network with them. Because of course they don't want to be seen with the shitcoiner guy. They don't want to be seen with the shitcoiner dude, the shitcoiner chick, or anything like that. So that is how they start to enforce it, because then people then start self-policing themselves. You see more crypto influencers that pay less attention to being authentic and just pay more attention to trying as much as possible to fit into this Maxi whatever, this Maxi code, this Maxi status. Try as much as possible to talk less about these other coins, because they don't want to be seen as stupid. They don't want to be seen as shitcoiners, of course. And so they start to self-police themselves out of fear of being excluded from whatever these things are. And because of this, it starts to get reinforced, because now nobody wants to associate themselves with anything besides Bitcoin. And since nobody wants to associate themselves with anything besides Bitcoin, well, everything that is not Bitcoin will essentially die. And that's, I guess, the way they perceive it. So that is how they enforce it. That's how they enforce it. And they enforce it in this subtle way, this symbolic violence way. That is actually the proper term for it. It's actually symbolic violence, where they're not really forcing you to become a Maxi. No one's forcing you to become a Maxi. It's like, if you don't want to become a Maxi, that's fine. But if you want to get to the high places in society, in the Bitcoin society, if you want to be able to actually talk to people like Michael Saylor, then you have to be a Maxi. You have to, be a Bitcoin Maxi. So all you have to do is just police what you say, police, what you associate yourself with, just so you can fit into their ideas of who you should be, or of whatever they consider high class behavior or high status behavior. And that is symbolic violence. That's how they get everyone to fall in line. That's how they get everyone to gradually separate themselves from whatever they've previously associated themselves with, and just associate themselves with only Bitcoin. So there's a possibility that they have been able to use this to achieve some sort of like soft power over other forms of over whether or not other coins get some form of rotation, right? Because if you draw this presumption to its logical end, then you sort of like understand that it kind of makes a case that maybe we're not seeing an alt season because, well, no one wants to associate themselves with altcoins anymore. And these guys have done a very good job at assisting that, right? Because they've been able to create labels such as shitcoiners versus Bitcoin maxes. And because of that, people that have money in society currently, especially the fact that, household income has actually been going down. I mean, household savings have actually been going down for a very long time. And, most of the people that actually have any form of disposable capital have been, well, the 1% of the 1%, essentially the 10% of the society. And so essentially maybe that's what they've been able to do. Maybe that's why they've been able to sort of like delay any form of rotation into this alts by creating this soft codes and essentially forcing everyone through this symbolic violence away from rotating any capital into any of these altcoins. So whether or not this construct is a deliberate act by greedy Bitcoiners to attract, the elite and their capital into only Bitcoin by modeling the conditions that may make their social construct, or whether it's just the natural aftermath of the fact that it's just that these elites ended up adopting Bitcoin, and of course, they start to play elitist games, is yet to be seen. But what remains the fact is that this is a game that they're trying to play. This is a game that they have been playing, and this is a game I believe we should reject. We should reject this game. We should do all we can to reject this game. We should not allow these people to lump us into classes and call us whatever they believe they want to call us. We should not allow them to. And that is what I believe Litecoin stands for. And that is where I arrived when thinking about what is the meaning of Litecoin to me? What does Litecoin mean to me? Litecoin means that I'm not going to allow these people to call me a shitcoiner simply because they want to call me a shitcoiner. I don't want to play these games that these people are playing. And I believe it should be the same for the rest of us. So where I believe Litecoin can actually help create a counterculture to maximalism is because if you see the things that Litecoin actually stand for, these are things that genuinely go against the ideas of Bitcoin maximalism. These are things that go against the ideas of elitism. It's not as if I'm trying to fit Litecoin into this anti-maximalist idea. Is that Litecoin naturally fits an anti-maximalist idea. From the very start, Litecoin has always been about connecting to the masses. Litecoin has always been about trying to fight for the ordinary man, right? Cheap transactions, fast transactions. Who are the people that gets the benefit from these things? The everyday person. These are the people that get to benefit from faster transactions, cheaper transactions. Even the low cost price allows people like you and I to be able to get a considerable amount of Litecoins and sort of like have enough time to at least give ourselves a shot at actually getting on this store of value and being able to secure a much better future for our purchasing power. These are things that actually resonate more with the people that the elite class of society would consider low class. And these are things I believe we should embrace. These are things I believe we should, in fact, embrace. These are things I believe that every person who has been labeled a shitcoiner by Bitcoin maximalist should actually embrace. We should look at it and say, yes, okay, this is it. This is what you do not want, right? You do not want anything but Bitcoin. But we give you a concession of, okay, there are technical things that makes Bitcoin superior, but we're not going to play your games because there are other assets that have these things. There's Litecoin, there's Monero. So by refusing to play their games, by deciding to become Litecoiners, we're essentially telling these Maxi guys that we do not care about their games. And you can do it, by the way, with any altcoin, right? You can just do it by, owning the fact that you represent this coin. But the thing is that it's very difficult to do this type of thing with something that is not 100% fairly distributed totally decentralized monetary network that has organic growth, because there's no real community in something that has been advertised to you, something that, the community has sort of been bought through paid advertisements and all these things. So it's not really easy to find that culture. It's not really easy to build a real feeling of meaning inside these other communities. It's not really easy to build a real feeling of meaning in these other VC coins, but you can easily build a feeling of meaning in Litecoin. You can easily build a feeling of meaning in Monero. You can, because all these coins have is your community. It's only the communities that they have. And so that is where you can actually feel like you're a part of something. And that is why it feels important to me that Litecoin actually represents the counterculture to Bitcoin maximalists. It is actually the middle finger to their elitist ideas, these games of status that they want to play. It is essentially you telling yourself that I don't want to play this game. And how we can achieve it is by being Litecoiners. As Litecoiners, we should own the fact that we are Litecoiners. We should own our identity, beyond what the market is doing, beyond what the price is doing. What does it mean that we are Litecoiners? Because being a Bitcoiner means something to these people, because the identity of who they are as Bitcoiners is essentially not shitcoiners. So as Bitcoin maximalists, rather. So as Bitcoin maximalists, their idea is essentially we are not shitcoiners. That's it. It's pretty much, we can put it like this. It's like, the idea of rich people is I'm not a poor person. So the idea of Bitcoin maximalists is, I'm not a shitcoiner. And so as Litecoiners, we should be able to tell ourselves we are Litecoiners. That is what we are. This is what we stand for. All of the things that you want to consider low, bro, all of the this ideas of trying to look down on us, what we accept it, whatever. This is what we stand for. We stand for, the common person. We stand for spreading access. We stand for, being consistent, working hard, and all of these other things. And that's how I see Litecoin personally fitting in and becoming the counterculture to whatever Bitcoin maximalism is trying to achieve. And we have to do this more by supporting each other, right? We support each other in what we do. And we're doing this very well, actually. We're doing it very great. I think the Litecoin community is one of the most supportive community, one of the most inter-collaborative communities in the whole space, right? Everyone's actually trying to help each other grow. And we should also do it by trying as much as possible to not aspire for these things that these Bitcoin maximalists have sort of like, made sort of quintessential, right? The ideas of, their popular podcasters, their popular conferences, the Michael Saylors. You shouldn't strive for such connections. In my opinion, I don't strive for such connections. And, when we do it like that, we should focus more on like just doing what we are already doing, focusing more on helping the grassroots, focusing more on reach outs, working to ensure that we're better in the society in a measurable way, and working to ensure that we're not trying to subjugate and, elevate ourselves above broader society. And if we do something like this, I believe we can, further our ability to become the counterculture to this Bitcoin maximalist ideology. And that's what I think. That's what I believe. That's the way I perceive it. That is what it means to be a Litecoiner, in my opinion. And this doesn't just imply to now, because like it's very easy to say these things now that we are, the market is down. Of course, there's not a lot of Litecoiners that are actually, rich or wealthy or anything. But it should also apply to when we end up, when Litecoin gets to 1,000 or 2,000 or 4,000, it's just good that we continue to embody the principles and the ideals that we currently embody. We continue to, promote humility. We continue to be more collaborative, more cooperative, especially with those that are going to be coming into the ecosystem. Continue to be reachable. We should continue like this. And we shouldn't, just because maybe by then, a lot of us would probably be substantially, more wealthier than we are right now. We would not sort of mimic these ideas. Remember, if we're mimicking these ideas and we're trying to create our own form of elitism as Litecoiners, by then we're essentially still playing their game. We're essentially still, playing their game, trying to play it on our level. And it just doesn't make sense why we're going to do that. Besides the fact that, of course, we're going to lose the game anyways, because, if these are the games we want to play, it's very difficult to just topple whatever the established elites are. But it just doesn't make sense. And it's just going to, in my opinion, erode the ideals and the things that actually, gets me very attracted to Litecoin, which are these principles of being fair, being decentralized, and being easily accessible to the common man. And essentially, that's it. That's how I believe Litecoin can be the counterculture to that. Like I said, all I wanted to do in this live stream was rant and explore this my newfound thesis that is still in its formation period. And I was actually hoping that in my process of rambling, I was probably gonna stumble upon something that would be counter to my train of thought, or something that could add to it, but I haven't seen anything like that. So I guess yeah, I'm just gonna have to call it a day. Yeah, but basically this is it. This is just the summary of everything. I believe beyond just names and tags and labels, Bitcoin maximalists have been able to, or at least are trying as much as possible to create these structures in crypto society where they can differentiate themselves from the rest of us, and they can form a sort of elite class for themselves and subjugate the rest of us Litecoiners in a way that is, of course, very difficult to actually prove, but is very real, right? Using all of these exclusion techniques, where I've already gone through them earlier. But yeah, that's basically so I just wanted to be here and talk about what it means being a Litecoiner, and why we should try as much as possible to always remember it, right? Always remember what Litecoin means, and what we stand for and what we stand against. And also, let's try as much as possible to be good people as well, right? Try as much as possible to do more outreach, try to get your local businesses to accept Litecoin. Let's continue to push Litecoin in the way we can, because that's the way that we get to essentially essentially further this community and build out our identity as Litecoiners. I guess that's all I wanted to talk about. Yep, this is my first ever stream where I ranted, and I actually feel very good, honestly. Like, if you actually stayed and listened to all of this rant, then thank you very much, because I just basically trauma dumped on you for a bit, and it felt good. But yeah, I'll continue to work on this idea again. There's a possibility I might be taking all of this, nuanced social structures that are being created to their extreme, but I know that there's definitely something to it, and I'm definitely writing a follow up to this article, which I'm also going to be publishing. But yeah, that's it. That's the end of what I want to talk about. That's the end of this stream, and remember, the Lite Hour live stream is a Litecoin dedicated live stream that we host on the Flipping Finance page every Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, 5 p.m. EST. So if you want to continue to engage with the Litecoin conversation, you 100% know where you need to be. That's it for today's stream, and you guys go ahead and have a wonderful day. I promise, if anyone of you is still here, I promise next stream I'm not gonna be melancholy like this. I'm not gonna be all mushy, stoic like this. No, I was actually gonna be a vibe, but this is what I wanted to do today. This is what I wanted to do. I just wanted to come here and rant and talk about stuff that I've actually been going through my mind. So I guess we can all take something from that and go ahead and ask ourselves what Litecoin means to us individually, and what it represents beyond just the technical ideas and technical functionalities of Litecoin. Thank you very much. That's the end of this stream. Bye-bye, and I will see you guys in the next stream, which, like I said, will not be melancholy like this. But yeah, that's it. Anyways, bye-bye. See you later.